Nomadic herders have killed at least 19 people in a church in the village of Ayar Mbalom in Benue State. Two of the victims are believed to be priests. Central Nigeria is plagued by communal violence. Hundreds of people have died this year alone as herders and farmers fight for grazing rights and access to fertile land. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the attack. Well, for more insight on this, we are now joined by CGTN's Deji Badmus, who is in Lagos in Nigeria for us. Deji, the violence in Benue seems to be spiralling out of control. What's the latest? How is the government responding?
Well, the government has basically, as you have been reporting there, Karen, President Buhari has condemned the attack, and the police has confirmed that actually the number of deaths, casualty now, it's 16. Fact is that before now, the government actually deployed military to the military now to that state. As a matter of fact, the military carried out an exercise that lasted for about 2 months in that state. That exercise has ended, and of course some of the military personnel have been withdrawn. What the government is saying at this moment is that it would ensure that the culprits are arrested. But what a lot of people would tell you is that that has always been the response of the government, that for most of these attacks, the culprits don't get arrested. And because that doesn't happen all the time, that's partly one of the reasons why you will have these attacks now recurring every now and then, Karen.
So the culprits, you say, don't get arrested. What are the underlying causes of the conflict between farmers and herders, which some say is more deadly than the Boko Haram insurgency?
Well, first is that the herders-farmers crisis dates back to several years. I mean, it's been there for a very long time now. But the key issue, the remote cause, of course, is the fight over grazing land. You have the indigenous people who are the owners of the land, and the majority of them, of course, are farmers. And then you have these herders who are basically nomads, and they're not indigent, so to speak. And you know, because of the desertification now in the far north of the country, you have a situation where these herders are now coming into the inland part of the country now, where you have greenery and what have you. So you'll continue to have these clashes, and that's what experts have said, for as long as you have these environmental problems now in the far north of the country. But other than that, other than these herders-farmers clashes, there's also an element of criminality in what we have seen, especially in Benue State. For instance, some of the killings that have actually been blamed on herders have they've been proven to be wrong. There is, for instance, a criminal gang in Benue State. That gang has been operating for quite a while now. The government has not been able to arrest that gang, especially the leader of that gang now. There's a bounty on him. He was actually declared wanted a long time ago. He had actually carried out attacks that was confirmed, attacks of this nature now. So what some security experts are saying is that you also have a situation where this gang is capitalizing on the herders-farmers crisis now to carry out attacks that are similar to the ones now carried out by herders. Because most times when some of these attacks happens, it's always difficult to identify the gunmen. So, but you know, people will basically say they're herders. But in some of the attacks that we have seen, that were not actually carried out by herders. So you also have that problem there, and the government has not been able to deal with it. Karen?
And Deji, what impact is this violence likely to have on the upcoming elections in Nigeria?
Well, the impact will be enormous. There's no question that it's difficult. It will be difficult, for instance, to conduct elections in an area that is not secured. We saw that in the northeast of the country during the 2015 election, where election could not take place in some parts of the northeast. Now, if this is not sorted out, there's no question at all that it will be difficult to see elections now happening in quite a number of places, especially in that north-central state of Benue. And fact is that you know, the earlier the government is able to resolve this, the better for it, because this will definitely become a campaign issue. It's already a campaign issue, and as we go fully into the campaign, it will become a very big issue in the campaign. Politicians will definitely use this as a campaign tool, and it definitely, there's no question at all that it will rub off on the government. If the government is not able to deal decisively with this, there's a likelihood that the people might take it out on the government by not voting for the government. The ruling party won that state in 2015, but most people will tell you that with what is going on at the moment in that state, with all these killings you have, it's difficult to see how the ruling party would win election in that state. But the most important thing is to secure the environment so that elections can even take place. But other than elections too, people want to resume their normal lives. People have been displaced as a result of these killings. People have run away from their villages. They are no longer able to farm. That people want resolved so that they can go back to their normal lives. The killings can stop, and people can begin to live the way they used to live, in peace and in harmony, and then go on with their normal farming activities. So that's the key issue, or other than elections. Karen?
Okay, Deji, thank you for that update. That was CGTN's Deji Badmus there in Lagos in Nigeria.